Would you have the courage to face a bull that has already sent dozens of riders to the hospital? In the rodeo world, there are bulls so fierce and unpredictable that they became living legends, or better said, nightmares on four legs. And the first on the list is practically a force of nature. But before we begin, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now let's get started. Number 7. Asteroid. When the name Asteroid echoed through the arena speakers, something changed in the air. The audience, no matter how loud they had been seconds earlier, naturally lowered their volume, as if some ancestral instinct told everyone to prepare themselves. It was like watching an entire building hold its breath. The riders knew exactly what it meant. Pain was coming. Fast, violent, and merciless. Asteroid wasn't just any bucking bull. He was the kind of animal that, when he stepped into the arena, redefined the meaning of difficult. Every fiber of his body seemed engineered for explosion. His neck was thick like a column of living concrete, and the muscles on his back trembled beneath the skin even before the chute opened, as if energy was building inside, waiting for the exact moment to detonate. More than 1,000 kg, yet with the agility of a much smaller animal. That was the paradox that made Asteroid so dangerous. He wasn't just strong, he was fast. Fast enough to make the rider feel like they were trying to tame a lightning bolt splitting in several directions at once. His jumps had height, range, and speed all at the same time, a combination that destroyed any rider's balance. His first moves, the moment the gate opened, were devastating. No warm-up, no progressive motions. Asteroid exploded with everything from the very first millisecond, as if trying to break not just the rider, but the entire world around him. He jumped high, landed hard, spun sharply, and sometimes switched directions just to confuse whoever dared to be on his back. For many, the ride ended after the very first leap. For the few who lasted 2 or 3 seconds, the battle was just beginning. The combination of explosive power, animal intelligence, and unpredictability made him a demolition machine. His buck-off rate was so high that it became a fear-based statistic. Few dared to mount him twice. Some bull riders said Asteroid seemed to read your mind. As soon as the rider corrected their balance, Asteroid changed his spin, sped up, or snapped his back in a way that looked almost against bovine anatomy. Riding him was like trying to survive a sequence of micro-earthquakes. Each jump vibrated through the rider's body, making their spine crack. The arm that held the rope stretched beyond its limit, and their legs whip against the air. The adrenaline surged so quickly that many didn't even feel the pain until they hit the ground. And when they fell, and they almost always fell, the damage came afterward. Bruises, sprains, dislocated shoulders, fractured ribs, days or weeks away from the arena. Asteroid collected other people's injuries like invisible trophies, building his legend with the sweat, falls, and silence of those who tried to tame him. But perhaps the most iconic moment of his career was his ride against JB Monty, one of the greatest names in world rodeo. Monty was known for pushing limits, for always choosing the toughest bulls, the ones nobody else wanted. He wanted real glory, and that meant facing monsters, and no monster was bigger than Asteroid. The arena was packed, bright lights, live television. The crowd knew they were about to witness a historic showdown. Monty adjusted his rope, shifted his body to lock his weight, and took a deep breath. Asteroid, on the other hand, already looked ready to explode. The bull trembled like a bomb about to detonate. When the gate opened, the world became noise. Asteroid launched out, spinning violently. Monty held on through the first seconds, but the force was so overwhelming that his muscles looked like they were twisting under impact. Each jump from Asteroid felt like taking an invisible hammer strike. Time distorted. Seconds felt like hours, while the crowd screamed and recorded the moment. When the clock finally hit 8 seconds, the entire arena erupted in applause. Monty had achieved something almost impossible, staying on the bull that destroyed champions. But victory came with a price. As he walked out of the arena, he limped, covered in deep bruises. He needed weeks to recover. Those close enough could see the pain on his face, a pain he would carry as both a scar and a badge of honor for the rest of his life. Asteroid still had more to show after that. In 2012, he was named PBR Bull of the Year, and that decision was never questioned. His season looked like a collection of buck-offs, despair, and admiration. It was almost poetic. Wherever he went, he left marks. Asteroid wasn't just strong, he was strategically dangerous. dangerous. He knew exactly when to change rhythm, when to spin faster, when to defy logic. He wasn't merely instinctual, he was a bull that thought while he fought. Outside the arena, he was treated with almost reverential respect. Asteroid wasn't seen as a simple competition animal, but as a living legend. He was cared for like a celebrity, always with caution, technique, and the understanding that among all the bulls to ever step into a professional arena, he was one of the most dominant in history. When he finally retired, many breathed a sigh of relief, especially the riders still building their careers. The threat was gone, but the legend, that only grew. Videos of his rides still circulate online like small documentaries of terror and animal brilliance. Asteroid became the kind of bull new riders study. Not to ride him, but to understand what it means to face the apex of challenge in rodeo. The question left is simple, but honest. Would you have the courage to survive 8 seconds on Asteroid's back? Number 6. Pearl Harbor, the beast that left riders destroyed. Have you ever heard of a bull that seemed to think while throwing off its opponents? That was Pearl Harbor. Unlike many bulls that act purely on instinct, he seemed to have strategy. A terrifying mix of strength, technique, and cold precision. Pearl Harbor became famous as one of the smartest and most dangerous bulls in professional rodeo history. With more than 1,000 kilos of pure muscle, what impressed people most was his movement. Precise, fast, and calculated. From the very first jump, he made his intentions clear. He leapt high, twisted his body in the air, and changed directions without giving riders a chance to react. Many described the experience as trying to balance on a mind-controlled earthquake. One of his trademarks was switching spin direction mid-ride. This little trick threw off even the most experienced cowboys, as if he was always one step ahead. He faced the best in the world and defeated most of them. His buck-off rate was astonishing. Many riders left with bandaged arms, bruised ribs, or their pride completely shattered. In 2017, he was at his peak, leading the PBR ranking as Bull of the Year. But his story ended suddenly in 2018, when he died of natural causes. The entire circuit went into mourning. Pearl Harbor didn't need to bellow. His presence was enough. Just hearing his name made the atmosphere tense. The crowd loved it. The riders, not so much. Today, he is remembered as one of the most complete bulls of all time. His name still sends chills and commands respect. Do you think a bull can be a true strategist? Number 5. Bruce, the unstoppable rearing machine. Imagine a bull that, besides power and brutality, had an almost elegant style when throwing riders to the ground. That was Bruce, a giant respected and feared in arenas across the United States. Known for his ability to rear with such force that he seemed to defy gravity, Bruce was a machine. He weighed over 1,000 kg with defined muscles and an imposing presence. What made him unique wasn't just his strength, it was the way he executed every movement. He reared as if choreographing his attacks. Precise jumps, devastating landings. Many said riding him felt like being on an out-of-control roller coaster, and there was no time to adjust. In 2016, he was named PBR Bull of the Year, and he repeated the title in 2017 and 2018, 3 consecutive years. A rare achievement that placed Bruce at the top of history. Even extremely technical riders struggled with him. His rhythm changes were subtle but fatal. One tiny mistake and the ground arrived fast, usually with a nasty fall. Curiously, outside the arena, Bruce was calm, but the moment he crossed the gate, he became a competition machine. His spectacular style and consistency created a legion of fans. Even people who didn't like rodeo ended up impressed after watching Bruce perform. Do you think Bruce was the most balanced bull between technique and power? Number 4. Little Yellow Jacket, the bull that sent riders to the hospital. And entered eternity Little Yellow Jacket, a name that sounds small, almost cute, almost harmless. But in the world of professional rodeo, it means something entirely different. Raw power, combat intelligence, explosive muscle, and a legacy that feels more like myth than reality. He wasn't just another difficult bull, he was the bull, the ultimate reference of an entire era in the PBR. The birth of a phenomenon Little Yellow Jacket was born in 1996, son of 2 legendary bulls, Houdini x White Sport Coat, both known for producing animals with overwhelming power, above average speed, and lethal unpredictability. Since he was a calf, breeders noticed something different. Dense musculature at just 10 months, aggressive posture even while playing, absurd reflexes, rare endurance for a young bull. Farm workers said he would run, spin, and rehearse movements as if he already knew he was meant for an arena. By the time he turned 3, he was considered too advanced for training training events, throwing every cowboy who tried to test him. A body built for chaos, Little Yellow Jacket weighed around 1 through 300 kilos, but performed like a bull half his size, only far more explosive. He had an extremely wide chest for greater lung capacity, short, powerful hindquarters, a low center of gravity, agility that seemed to defy biomechanics. Veterinarians said his muscular structure was beyond normal, abundant fast-twitch fibers, dense tendons, flexible joints, and no chronic injuries. Extremely rare for a rodeo bull. This explained why he could jump higher, spin faster, change rhythm unpredictably, and maintain power longer, entering the PBR and instant terror. When Little Yellow Jacket stepped into a PBR arena for the first time, nobody expected much. That lasted 3 seconds. On his very first move, he spun so violently that the rider was thrown sideways, slamming his shoulder into the ground hard enough to be carried out. The PBR immediately realized a monster had entered the circuit. After only 6 rides, internal statistics already showed above average power, unpredictability in 90% of jumps, extremely high buck-off rate, real danger to any competitor. The devastating technique Little Yellow Jacket wasn't flashy. He wasn't elegant like other famous bulls. He was pure chaos. His style was simple but deadly. Immediate explosion the moment the gate opened, brutal spinning, always faster than expected, sudden direction changes, spinal twist to break the rider's balance. A dry vertical jump before the final spin, constant speed until the end. Riders said it was like trying to ride an earthquake. He knocked the air out of you. You mounted him knowing you'd probably end up in the hospital. Medical staff backstage reported frequent broken ribs, dislocated shoulders, inflamed spines, sprained wrists, heads hitting the ground. The rain. 3-time Bull of the Year, Little Yellow Jackets. Peak began in 2002. He achieved 2002 PBR Bull of the Year. 2003 PBR Bull of the Year, 2004 PBR Bull of the Year. No bull had ever won 3 consecutive titles. Even more impressive, he won all of them with a huge margin. Judges often said his scores were close to perfection because no other bull at the time matched him in strength and unpredictability. The historic encounter with Chris Shivers. Chris Shivers was, and still is, and one of the greatest riders of all time. Technical, agile, experienced, precise. But when he rode Little Yellow Jacket, he was thrown off like a beginner. The moment became iconic. 1.5 seconds after the gate opened, Shivers is thrown sideways, lands hard on his back, spins in the air like a rag doll, and has to be helped out, limping. The clip went viral in early internet forums and later appeared in documentaries about the PBR. For many fans, this is the ride that truly showed the bull's ferocity. The monster's mind, above average intelligence, handlers claimed Little Yellow Jacket seemed to know when the rider was about to regain balance, when to change spin direction, when to speed up, when to slow down, when to tilt his body more. Riders said he could feel the cowboy's weight. It was like fighting an animal that noticed everything and used it to defeat you in the worst way. Outside the arena, the impossible contrast. Here's what shocked most people. Outside the arena, Little Yellow Jacket was calm, gentle, easy to handle, almost friendly. Children could play near him with supervision. Farm workers called him a gentle giant. It created a surreal duality, a savage beast inside the arena, a peaceful giant outside of it. This dual nature amplified his legend even more. The trail of injured riders, even with respect and safety protocols, Little Yellow Jacket left serious marks on dozens of cowboys. Documented injuries included multiple rib fractures, shoulder dislocations, torn ligaments, deep contusions, mild and moderate concussions. It's estimated that over 40 riders ended up in the hospital after riding him. That's why his name still sends chills down people's spines. The impact on the PBR, the bull that changed the sport. After a few years, specialists began saying Little Yellow Jacket was setting a new standard. The PBR had to adjust rankings, revise performance scoring, rethink strength parameters, create new categories for bull evaluation. He raised the bar so high that many bulls that came after were directly compared to him. Retirement: Little Yellow Jacket officially retired in 2005. By then, he was larger than the sport itself. Documentaries, interviews, awards, tributes. After leaving the arenas, he lived on a large ranch receiving top-tier care. Visitors often asked to see the legendary bull before anything else. The death of a king. In 2011, Little Yellow Jacket died. His passing caused national emotion in the US. Articles, tributes, videos, interviews, and posts resurfaced his legacy. Today, He is immortalized in the PBR Brand of Honor, the Hall of Fame for the most important bulls in history. The legacy that will never die Little Yellow Jacket was more than a strong bull. He was a symbol of respect, a sports milestone, a turning point, an absolute legend. Riders still say that if they could go back in time, no one would choose to ride him willingly, only out of professional obligation. The final question. After hearing the full story, the question remains, would you have the courage to open the gate and face 8 seconds on Little Yellow Jacket? Few dared, even fewer walked away uninjured, and none ever forgot. Number 3, Dillinger. Dillinger was not just another bull on the professional circuit, he was a divider of eras, an animal who entered history not because of brute force, though it was colossal, but because of the complete combination of attributes no other bull had ever presented so perfectly balanced. When his name appeared on the ride list, the crowd reacted with that mix of joy and tension. Riders took deep breaths, coaches closed their folders, announcers changed their tone. Dillinger changed the atmosphere. He shifted the energy of an entire arena. For many riders, he represented not just a challenge, but a defining moment in their careers. A before and after. Have you ever ridden Dillinger? Became almost a marker of professional maturity. Many riders who entered confidently left with their conviction shaken, not because of injuries, though they happened, but because of the mental experience of facing a bull so far above average. Dillinger weighed just over 300 kilos, but the number alone means nothing. There are 300 kilo bulls that are relatively slow, predictable, easy to read. Dillinger was the absolute opposite. He combined explosive muscle power, balance, fine coordination, spin speed, and above all, improvisation. His body seemed to react to every micro adjustment from the rider, as if anticipating human intention before it even happened. When the gate opened, every one of his movements seemed executed with the precision of an Olympic athlete. It was as if his animal mind had its own strategic logic. If the rider stabilized to the right, he shifted left. If the rider leaned forward, he launched upward. If the rider tried to adjust, he accelerated the spin. He was an animal who didn't repeat patterns. That, more than strength, threw riders off. The way Dillinger started his movements deeply marked those who watched. He didn't give that tiny moment of preparation many bulls offer. The instant the chute opened, he was already at peak power. The first jump came with spin, lift, and impact. This broke the initial reading phase riders rely on to position themselves. Many were thrown off within the first 2 seconds, but without dangerous or aggressive movements. It was simply the overwhelming physics of an extremely agile bull working at full advantage. Trainers used to say Dillinger had a natural gift, the ability to use 300 kilos as if it were 300. He seemed light, fast, precise. That combination made him one of the most complete bulls of all time, and one of the most respected in the history of professional rodeo. His back-to-back PBR Bull of the Year titles, 2000 and 2001, didn't happen by accident. He faced legendary riders, competed in extremely strong events, and still imposed remarkable dominance. To win 2 titles in a row, a bull must perform perfectly in virtually every appearance. He can't have weak days. He can't make mistakes. He can't be predictable. Dillinger met all those requirements with ease. PBR records show that some of the biggest stars of the time hesitated when they drew Dillinger in the ride lottery, not because of physical fear, but because of his psychological reputation. For many, riding Dillinger meant risking an entire season's score. He could change trajectories. Legendary riders like Justin McBride and Mike White spoke publicly about him. More than acknowledging his strength, they commented on his intelligence. Dillinger seemed to sense when the rider had refined technique. Instead of spinning predictably, he would speed up, slow down, shift rhythm. The way he varied cadence was one of his most praised and feared traits. But interestingly, outside the arena, Dillinger had a completely opposite personality. He was described as calm, gentle, even curious. Handlers said he liked routine, responded well to caretakers, and didn't cause unnecessary trouble. This always surprised fans who imagined such a dominant bull would be aggressive outside the show. But rodeo is full of legends like that. Giants in the arena, peaceful in the pasture. This duality contributed to his mythical aura. Inside the chute, he was pure storm. Outside, serenity. Over the years, many videos of Dillinger became case studies. Riding analysts, trainers, young athletes. They all examined his performances frame by frame, trying to understand the secret of his ability. Many conclude Dillinger was one of those rare moments when genetics, conditioning, mental disposition, and training align perfectly, a statistically unlikely combination. So much so that even today, decades later, Dillinger is mentioned in debates about the most complete bull in history. Some were stronger, others lasted longer, others were more unpredictable, but very few combined all of that with such elegance. He wasn't violent, he wasn't destructive, he was simply a phenomenal athlete, a bull operating at the absolute limit of his species' physical capacity and doing it repeatedly with flawless consistency. Young riders studying rodeo history often find his name at the top of the respect lists. Many say, if Dillinger were competing today, he would still be one of the best. That sentence says it all. He left a deep legacy in the sport. He inspired training changes, influenced new evaluation criteria, marked entire generations of riders. And even today, his presence can be felt when veterans tell arena stories. Dillinger wasn't just a legendary bull, he was one of the pillars that defined modern rodeo. And for many, he remains the most complete that ever existed. Number 2. Bodacious, the birth of a titan. When Bodacious was born, no one imagined that the yellow calf, ordinary in appearance, would forever transform the world of rodeo. He was just another among many born on the J31 family ranch in Texas, surrounded by wide pastures and hot days. But something about him stood out early, not because of aggression, but because of vitality. He was restless, moved with strength disproportionate to his size, and had naturally defined musculature, as if his body were always ready for action. Bodacious grew fast. His owners noticed that as months passed, he gained muscle as if he were being sculpted to jump, spin, and explode in movements no other calf his age came close to performing. He ran across the pasture kicking up dust in circular trails he created himself, as if already training for something destiny had planned. When he reached the age to enter competition, evaluators saw that compact build, powerful legs, and a posture that seemed to say, I wasn't made to follow rules. They had no idea what that meant. The first ride, and the world's first warning, there is no precise record of the first rider to get on Bodacious in smaller local events. But oral accounts all say the same thing. He didn't look like a bull beginning his career. He looked like an experienced veteran with the precision and explosion of one trained for years. Riders who had never heard of him found out in seconds they were facing something very different. The common reaction was shock, not because of his size, but because of the absurd vertical power of his launches. Unlike other bulls who moved in predictable lateral patterns, Bodacious seemed to dominate the air. He leapt with a force that defied his own weight. His first burst was so abrupt that many riders lost balance before even attempting to apply technique. The arena talked, judges talked. The owners began to realize what they had. A bull born to challenge the impossible, the evolution of Bodacious, and his transformation into legend. His fame didn't grow slowly, it grew instantly. Just a few events were enough for Bodacious to spread like wildfire across Texas arenas. Completed rides on him were almost non-existent. With each victory, his reputation grew. With each buck off, riders grew more cautious. It was as if the rules of the sport changed when he stepped into the arena. His movements were studied, analyzed, reanalyzed, yet no one could predict that first explosion. He could leap straight up, spin, twist his torso, surge forward, suddenly pull back, all in such short intervals that they seemed to defy human reaction time. Riding coaches used recordings to analyze Bodacious millimeter by millimeter, and the conclusion was always the same. There is no pattern. He did what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted, and that usually meant one thing: victory. The psychological weight, the bull that intimidated even the best Bodacious, wasn't just hard to ride. He affected riders' minds. Professional riders, used to facing any bull without blinking, admitted they felt something different when his number appeared on the arena screens. It was a mix of adrenaline, tension, extreme focus, and a respect that nearly bordered on fear. Not paralyzing fear, but conscious, rational fear. The kind of fear that appears when you know you're about to test your limits for real. Experienced riders began studying specific techniques just for him. They talked to those who had already tried him, seeking tips on how to survive the first explosion, how to position their bodies, how to anticipate the initial movement. But there was no right answer, no manual, no guaranteed technique. The best strategy was always the same: wait for for the impact and try to survive it. The making of a myth. As the years went on, Bodacious grew stronger, more explosive, and more famous. He seemed to defy aging. His jumps stayed violent, his spin stayed unpredictable, and his presence in the arena was so intense that the crowd fell silent before the chute even opened. When he walked down the corridor toward the arena, many described the sight as watching a tank in motion. There was power in every step, intensity in every look, but the most incredible thing was that he showed no aggression outside the arena. He was a calm, ordinary bull with behavior considered normal by handlers. He was disciplined, obedient, and social with those who cared for him. The transformation happened only in the arena, as if the energy of rodeo awakened something inside him. Pure, electric, built for challenge. This only strengthened the myth. How could an animal be so gentle in the pasture, yet so overwhelming in the arena? How could he switch states so quickly? The question fed the legend, the rivalry with the world's best riders. No story of Bodacious can be told without mentioning the great riders who faced him. Among them, names that marked entire eras of professional rodeo. Tough Hademan, a 3-time world champion who, even prepared, couldn't fully anticipate Bodacious's violent movements. Even after a fall that injured him, following safety rules, no injury details are described. His determination led him to try again, and once more Bodacious proved why he was considered the monster of the arena. Other major riders from both PRCA and PBR tried to conquer him. Many had perfect resumes, solid experience, and elite technique, but Bodacious always seemed one step ahead. For some, he was the greatest challenge of their careers. For others, the absolute limit of what a human being could attempt. Technical analysis. Why Bodacious was so devastating, rodeo experts studied him for years, trying to understand his secret. Some factors appeared repeatedly. Unique body structure. He had an extremely rare combination of massive muscle, quick reflexes, compact top line balanced center of gravity, explosive power in the hind legs. It was as if his anatomy had been built to generate the perfect initial impact. The vertical launch. His most iconic move combined a rear up with forward thrust. It didn't just lift riders, it pushed them out of their comfort zone. Total unpredictability. Unlike most bulls, Bodacious didn't follow spin patterns. He could leap, spin tilt, his body change rhythm, regain power, repeat everything with variations, all within seconds. The pressure of the world, and the peak of his career. As time passed, Bodacious became more than a competitor. He became the main attraction. When his name appeared in event lineups, crowds grew, tickets sold out faster, and arenas were filled with maximum anticipation. He earned many achievements, including PRCA Bull of the Year, 1994 and 1995, Bull of the Century, PR7. Number 1. Bushwhacker, the most terrifying bull in PBR history. The animal that redefined the word invincible. Bushwhacker wasn't just a rodeo bull, he was a phenomenon, a turning point, a sports landmark, a chapter of his own in the history of professional bull riding, and for many, the greatest bull ever seen inside an arena. If the rodeo world had an official encyclopedia, his name would be printed next to one word: unbeatable. And that's not a metaphor, it's statistics, it's history, it's fear. Real, visible, undeniable. The best riders in the world, champions, legends, icons, all tried to conquer him. Almost all of them failed, and failed badly. The birth of the legend, the genetics of perfect fury, Bushwhacker was born in 2006, the result of carefully selected bloodlines. He descended from some of the most explosive, resilient, and athletic bulls ever recorded in North American rodeo. He was the son of Reindeer Dippin', a respected bull known for unpredictability Lady Blue, carrying high-performance champion genetics. Even as a calf, something about him stood out. He had an alert, upright posture, dense, compact muscles, advanced coordination, a strong but not aggressive temperament. Simply hyper-aware, by age 2, he already displayed an explosive power many bulls don't reach until much later. Bushwhacker wasn't bred to be good, he was bred to be exceptional, and he exceeded even that. A body that seemed built to throw men, he weighed roughly 900 kilograms, $2,000 lbs, yet moved like a much smaller, hyper-agile animal. His physical attributes included deep, dense musculature, extremely powerful hind legs, perfectly balanced center of gravity, unusually flexible spine-wide chest for explosive breathing, strong joints with no chronic issues. He was a physical anomaly, a bovine prodigy, and that combination made riders last only a few seconds. The debut and immediate fear. At his PBR debut, Bushwhacker instantly caught the judges' and riders' attention. He didn't just look strong, he looked dangerous. In his second week of competition, a judge said, "This bull isn't normal. He has power and speed I've never seen together." His first official outs made everything clear. Riders with years of experience were thrown off in 1 to 3 seconds. His spin was so fast that reaction time barely existed. His initial jump launched riders backward instantly. Bushwhacker didn't just buck, he overwhelmed. The devastating style, the recipe for invincibility. Bushwhacker was smart. He seemed to think in the arena. His main traits: explosive launch. His first jump was so powerful that most riders lost position immediately. Ultra-fast spins. His signature spin was fast enough to break balance instantly. Direction changes. He switched from left to right with no warning. Rhythm variations. Speeding up and slowing down at random disrupted any timing. Body tilt. He tilted his body mid-spin, throwing riders off center instantly. Massive stamina. Even in the last seconds, he never lost strength. Riders described him as a mix of an earthquake, a hurricane, a twisted rubber band, and a dynamite blast, all happening simultaneously. The impossible record, 17 straight buck-offs. Bushwhacker achieved 17 consecutive buck-offs against the world's elite riders. Not average riders, the best on the planet. No one could stay on him. He seemed determined to throw each competitor perfectly. Commentators often called him the Michael Jordan of bucking bulls. But truthfully, even Jordan didn't dominate his sport like Bushwhacker did. Bushwhacker was one of a kind. The encounter with JB Mauney, the only man to ride him. JB Mauney is a legend. Fearless, determined, one of the greatest riders ever, and he did the impossible. He rode Bushwhacker for 8 full seconds. The duel happened in August 2013. The rodeo world stopped, crowds erupted, social media exploded. Mauney left exhausted and shaken, but victorious. Even so, throughout their rivalry, Bushwhacker defeated Mauney many times. Mauney said, "Riding Bushwhacker is like stepping into a tornado." Silvano Alves, the calm, technical champion who still couldn't beat him. Silvano Alves, a 3-time world champion known for discipline and technique, couldn't solve Bushwhacker. He was bucked off repeatedly. He explained, "Bushwhacker took away any advantage you tried. He was always one step ahead." The strategic mind of the animal Bushwhacker seemed to sense. Rider weight shifts, balance, adjustments, timing corrections, center of gravity changes, and he responded instantly. Riders said he was too fast, too smart, too consistent. He had no weakness, no opening, no safe moment. Bushwhacker was the bull that offered no chance. Cultural impact. The bull that became an icon. Bushwhacker wasn't just popular, he was a phenomenon. He earned official merchandise fan signs, comic-style mascots, TV appearances, national media coverage, huge online followings. His name became bigger than the sport itself. Titles: the official crown of the legend Bushwhacker was named, PBR Bull of the Year, 2011 PBR Bull of the Year, 2013 PBR Bull of the Year, 2014. 3 titles that confirmed his supremacy. He wasn't just a tough bull, he was the bull. Retirement, the most emotional farewell in PBR history. In 2014, Bushwhacker retired. The arena was packed. People cried. Crowds stood and applauded. The entire PBR paused to honor him. It was the end of the greatest career ever witnessed. After retirement, he lived peacefully on a ranch, receiving special care and calm days. Fans, riders, and media continued visiting him for years. The legacy, the before and after of bull riding Bushwhacker, changed the sport forever. After him, the PBR had to rethink riding technique, adjust scoring criteria, create new difficulty standards, evolve rider training, redefine performance metrics. Bushwhacker raised the level of bull riding beyond anything seen before. Riders say, after Bushwhacker, no bull ever felt as terrifying. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and check out other videos appearing right now on your screen. I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.